you doing, guys? Good morning. Another day, another morning. Blessed to wake up this morning. Try to make another dollar here. Thought today we'd go through on how to trim a competition brisket. Not necessarily what I would do for the restaurant, but for competition. Keep in mind, there's all kinds of ways to do this. This is just what works for me. It's a good thing about barbecue. There's no wrong way, as long as it tastes good. All right, well, let's get this started. Good morning. It helps if you open a brisket upside down. That way you just flip it over. All right. Now it helps if you have a real sharp knife. I'm not sure about this one. It's sharp enough. So what we want to do is just take the top layer of skin and fat off the front of it. The reason you do this is because your rub will not stick to fat. You will not get a good crust, and you'll have places that don't even have rub. So see how I'm doing it? Just barely take some of the meat off. The less meat you take, the better off you are. So we'll just keep doing this. You don't want to cut down. This is a vein of fat that runs down. You don't want to cut into that. That's just part of it. The silver skin. It's kind of cold out here this morning. Just kind of keep trimming. See, this is called silver skin right here. And it's kind of hard. You just got to kind of pull it up. That's about it with this brisket. It was a pretty good brisket. Now, another thing I would do if this was since we're not going to competition, I'm not going to waste this brisket. It's for the restaurant. But what I would do is, when you turn in a brisket, they give you a 9-inch clamshell. And in IBCA, you're now allowed to trim the sides after you cook it to block it into your box. I really don't recommend doing that. To me, you're cutting the flavor off. When you trim it, that side's not going to have any rub on it. So what I do for competition is I measure this I use a knife, I try to get the flat 12 inches wide, because you got to figure you're going to have some shrinkage once you cook it, and then you won't have to block it when it comes out. They'll all be the same size and they'll have rub on the ends. I know a lot of judges that just taste the ends, so I always try to be sure and have rub on the sides when I cut it. That's about it for this one. This was a pretty dang good brisket. A lot of times when I'm doing competition too, I'll cut the decal out, just because it's mess, and the more you cut off the brisket, the faster it'll cook. So if you kind of think about it, this brisket I would probably cut right there. Cut it right there and cook this a different time. But then once you cook it, these will be perfect width for that 9-inch clamshell, and you won't have to do any trimming before you turn it into the judges. Another thing I do is, see the grain? The grain is running from here this way. So you're going to be cutting, when you start trimming, cutting for competition, you're going to cut against the grain. So you're going to start on this corner and work your way up. So what I always do is just cut the end off. I don't take it off, I just do that. I just pull it sideways. This way you know where the next cuts are going.